Welcome to this brief R tutorial on tabling. Now, the last few videos we've talked about have covered summarizing and visualizing data of several sorts. And the important message that we emphasized there was that the type of data, categorical versus quantitative, really drives the strategy that you'll want to use when you're summarizing and visualizing data. And to continue that theme, we're going to talk about how to use the table command when you're interested in looking at more than one categorical variable. R also has this nice capability which is plotting the tables that we've created, and that's going to be our main method for visualizing. So in order to get a better sense of this, let's move to R and load the VGAM data library. Now, again, if this is the first time that you're loading this library, you're going to need to install it first. And here I'm going to work with the xs.nz dataset. Now, from earlier tutorials, we know that typing this question mark is a nice way of loading some documentation on this dataset. So when I do that, I see that this is a dataset that has to do with some health data from New Zealand. And I can see right away that this is quite a large data set. It's got over 10,000 observations. Just to quickly browse again, I'm going to look at the variables that I have available using this names command, and I can see that I've got a bunch. So I said that the table command is going to be especially useful for looking at one or more categorical variables. So, for example, I might be interested in looking at the number of observations that I have that are from women rather than men. So here, I'm just going to type in table, and then the name of my data frame, and then a $sign to refer to a specific variable, and then sex. So here, I can see right away that I've got 2,944 observations from women, and 7,585 observations from men. Now, if I want to visualize that, the strategy that we talked about in an earlier video is just using this plot command. And this brings up something that looks like a histogram. So this histogram shows that we've got a lot more observations from men than women. Now, another thing that will show you sort of an alternate presentation of this same information is just the plot command, but I'm going to copy and paste in that table command from above. Now, when I execute this, I get another histogram that is sort of like a slightly different presentation. Now, the reason to keep this command in mind is that it's going to be really useful when we're looking at more than one categorical variable at once. So here, I created a table just for one variable. But let's say I'm interested in breaking down observations by both gender and whether or not someone has high cholesterol. So in this data set, that's given by this variable that's called high chol. So when I create this table, my first variable is going to be contained in the rows, and then the second is going to be contained in the columns. So for example, I can see that there are 2,662 women that do not have high cholesterol, and 244 women who do have high cholesterol. Now, if we again copy and paste this table into the plot command, we're going to get a presentation of the data that's actually pretty useful. So the way to read this plot is the x-axis contains information about the frequency of observations that are women rather than men. So the fact that these two rectangles are much wider tells me right away that there are many more men than women. This length is much longer than this length right here. And then similarly, if I look at the y-axis, I have information about the distribution of cholesterol. So the fact that this 0 is much longer tells me that there are a lot more observations for people who do not have high cholesterol, and there are fewer observations of high cholesterol folks. Now, these smaller rectangles actually tell me exactly how many observations are in this combination of, for example, non-high cholesterol types that are also women. So this rectangle right here corresponds to this 2,662 in the table. So just from quickly looking at this plot right here, I can see that having high cholesterol is more common among men than among women. So this plot table technique can be especially useful when we're interested in getting a sense of the breakdown of more than one categorical variable at a time. So to kind of return again to the topics for this video, remember that the table command is going to be really useful when we're talking about categorical data. And in order to visualize this information, we can just put the command inside this plot command.